I am black. Yeah, I want a mic for this. Something to hold it. I just want it temporary. Alright, let's see this.
Good morning, everybody. So, are you all excited?
So thank you all everybody for coming for our inaugural TEDx event at AES. We appreciate all the support. This is a youth event, and we'll have a lot of parent speakers, student speakers, and some outside speakers that came from all the way from Pune, a famous astrophysicist, and other speakers. So without further ado, we'll be
Let's
moving.
start. I can see you can't wait. So, let the show begin. Suyun.
Namaste. Sound is sacred, mysterious, and very ancient. It spans across the globe in the form of different stories, with a common thread sound. From the Hindu scriptures, which talk of Om as being the sound of creation, or the Old Testament, which says the world began with a word, to the Big Bang, everyone talks of sound. Now, if you shut out all the sounds and noises in your background, and I know it's difficult in a gadget age, still, after a while, you will become conscious of the sounds within. Heartbeat, murmur of your blood, oceanic sounds in your ear. This is the form of pure sound. Our ancient cultures were very aware of this, and they created various musical instruments and religious ceremonies to align our body to this frequency. Gongs, drums, bells, mantras, ragas, you name it. Being aware of these sounds raises your inner consciousness. It helps you calm your mind, overcomes your stress, depression, enhances memory. But the most important, you start to listen to your inner voice. By the way, the bowls that you see here don't come from my kitchen, and nor am I here for a culinary class. I am Rakhi Jain, and as a professional sound therapist, I am here today to introduce you all to a very profound way of alternate therapy. That's the sound therapy. I have a pharmaceutical background and a research scientist by profession. I quit working at the time when I realized that medicines alone were not helping my son fight his health issues. As any other parent, I cried. I really prayed hard, really prayed hard. I chanted. And finally, I turned towards alternate healing. As my son started to heal, I found myself experiencing a very profound transformation in myself. The journey of self discovery had started in me, and I started searching for answers within me. It was a pure chance led me to these bowls in Singapore. I was mesmerized, by the grounding and the soothing tones of these bowls. Along this journey, I discovered that these bowls were working way beyond than just providing music. They started affecting me in so many ways, psychologically. As I worked more with them, I realized that these sacred sounds started sounding very familiar. They were awakening a part of me which had been in slumber for the longest time ever. This was the end of my journey. The bowls, the sacred sounds, changed me in more ways than I can ever imagine. What truly connected me with this therapy was the scientific methodology behind the bowls and the systematic manner in which they work, along with the power of intention and thought. That's the key word, thought. It connected with my scientific intellect. By the same time, it touched my mystical core. To give you a very brief history, these mystical bowls originated in Tibet thousands of years ago, but were introduced to the world only in 1950s when the monks fled Tibet. If made to perfection, these bowls are made up of 7 different metals in various proportions, and the result of this is that they emit these beautiful pure frequencies. Let's take a minute to understand how these bowls really work. Our bodies are made up of matter, which is vibratory in nature. So the neutrons, the protons, they constitute to the solid mass of a body. But however, it is the empty space which exists between the neutron proton and the electron is where the vibration of the bowls work, and they touch every part of a physical being. We hear these divine sounds not only through a ear, but through every cell of a body. There's enough scientific research which is being done on sound and its impact on the human body. One of the earliest pioneers was a French scientist surgeon, Dr. Alfred Tomatis. He researched on the ear, the brain, and the nervous system and concluded that the primary function of the ear was not hearing. You hear me right. The primary function of the ear is not hearing. It basically awakens the cortex. It generates enough neural energy to trigger the cortex. Once the cortex is triggered, that releases a plethora of responses in your body. It could be at a physical level, it could be mental, spiritual, emotional. There is so much that could be done with this. So the real question, I assume everybody will have, how does it deal with an illness? According to Ayurveda, all illnesses are manifested on the energy level before they appear as symptoms on a physical level. When there is a dis-ease in the body, and I don't call it a disease, an imbalance is created at a very cellular level. This results in disharmony of the frequency at which the cells are vibrating. So when the bowl is struck, they work by entrainment. That is, that they emit purest frequency which replaces this disharmonious frequency in the body and allows the body to self-heal and rebalance. The self-healing is initiated because you enter into a subconscious state where the theta and the delta waves become active, allowing the body to experience deep relaxation. Different bowls then start working on all kinds of ailments. The list is endless. But to give you some examples, it works on conditions like insomnia, Alzheimer's, ADHD, heart diseases, GI disorders. It also works on depression, chakra heat balancing, meridian balancing, and believe it, PTSD. Definitely sound therapy cures different conditions, but today I have a question for all of us in the audience. Even if you do not exhibit any particular sign of a disease, don't you all carry the burden of stress on your shoulder? That takes toll on your physical and mental well-being. Or do you have hours that you can sit and meditate or go on silent retreat? The answer is yes, we are stressed. And the answer is no, that we don't have the time. Sound therapy, in its own subtle and powerful way, is meditative, which is realigning and re-energizing every cell of your body, improving your immunity, improving the quality of your sleep, and giving you a good feel factor. It's very difficult to adequately explain singing bowls since it is experiential, and words will be outweighed by what you will feel hearing them. I'll take that as a cue and request all of you to take a very comfortable position, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and relax. Another deep breath and relax. Take another deep breath. Follow the sounds of these magical bowls and remove any self-doubt that you have and just flow with music.
everybody. First of all, a friendly reminder that you should keep your phones off because we are doing a live stream and the videos, they will be available online after the event. And now I would like to introduce Simran Narang, a senior here at AES. Endeavoring to unfold the enigma of why, her speech will shed light on why we do what we do and that happiness is a soaking skill. Thank you.
When I was younger, my mind was full of questions on the things around me. And on many occasions, I didn't just have one, but a series of questions. While the rudimentary questions, like why is the sky blue, why is air invisible, or even why can't I be a Powerpuff Girl, circled through my mind, I needed to find an answer to all of those questions. I'm sorry. I tried to understand the world around me, and I thought there must be a reason for an action and its execution. I was really small, just 11-year-old. I went to my father and I asked him, why does one do whatever they do? And to my surprise, his answer was simple and unassuming. He said, "Karta ki kriya hi uska dharam hai," which translates as a pretty simple mathematical equation. That is, y is equal to doer plus action, wherein the y component is the dharam or the religion, the karta is the doer or the executor, and the kriya is the action performed by the executor. And now, since everyone wants to universally be happy, we're continually looking to an answer to the question, what does one need to do to be happy? If I plug this into the formula that I have, that is my equation, it looks like this. Happiness is equal to individual plus the doer, wherein the individual and their happiness are constants. And to make this equation work, our actions must result in happiness. There are two types of happiness, short-term and long-term. Let me begin by talking about short-term happiness. There are 5 organs of perception which enable our 5 senses, that is, the ears, eyes, nose, tongue, and our skin. And 5 organs of action, speech, hands, legs, excretory, and reproductory, which react and are the discerning faculties along with our minds, which work as the control units. All our mind and intellect are constantly operating as our control units that protects us. And all of our actions must translate to what makes us happy. One may feed the sensory organs. So the mundane pleasures and sights that we experience in our everyday life are the sensory organs. And to feed the sensory organs, one might be listening to a favorite song, going to the cinema tonight, or you might have had a chai latte before coming here. However, all of these are feel-good factors. They're short-lived. They're not permanent. One feels good or bad due to four chemicals released in our brain. There are endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. Once the effect of these chemicals fades, our mood changes. So how do we achieve long-lasting happiness? When I was 15, I left home and went all the way to Singapore to study in an international school. And there were quite a few days when I felt low. One day, I was standing at a bus stop when I saw two lively and energetic girls, who, however, were both bald. We took the same bus. They came up to me, smiled, and made a conversation with me. That is when I realized they were cancer patients. I wanted to do something to help them. And one thing that I could see at that time was that while they were hairless, I had a head full of long black hair. So that evening, I went back to my boarding house. I looked up NGOs where I could donate my hair. Luckily, I found one back in India that supported the cause. And what did I do next? I found myself. I realized happiness lies in giving. I had a reason to grow my hair after that. I wanted to donate it more often. Once, twice, and for all times to come. Be it a benevolent act, skydiving from 15,000 feet, going underwater with scuba, or just spending quality time with family, can yet be someone else's reasons for happiness. But my supreme reason for happiness is in giving. Happiness is a choice. Today and always, I choose to be happy no matter what. But the reality is, while some days are bright and sunny, full of energy, there are days that are rainy and plain dull. The golden days pass by very smoothly. I am happy and life is colorful. But there are days when I'm not in the best of my spirits. I find that my perfect formula takes a backseat. Suddenly, the doer plus action makes a grumpy face. So what do I do when this happens? I wake up in the morning and I smile. I smile, I pull myself together, I eat my almonds, drink my coffee, and I go to school. I see the first person at school. I smile and I say, "Good morning. How are you doing? How is your day going so far?" And they tell me how their day is going. If their day is good, that is perfect. And if it's not, then it simply isn't, and they may proceed to tell me why. I am no expert, but I do hope that subconsciously they think, okay, I got this. Someone is there for me. Someone cares. I am not alone. Because by telling me how their day is going, they automatically feel a little better about themselves. Thanks to a little simple action on my part, they feel better. And I can become the reason someone is able to get through this hard day of theirs comfortably. I feel happier. I feel better about who I am. I meet the second person. I greet them with a smile, and I ask the same questions to them. And this process goes on and on. You see, it is a cycle. You can imagine how many times I make myself feel a little happier until my bad day becomes a good day. I may fake that smile on all my bad days until that smile is not so fake anymore. I keep it because by making people around me happy, I feel better about who I am. And I feel happy that I am on this planet. I'm worth being on this planet. That's why. Be generous with smiles, kind words, good thoughts, and good wishes for everyone you meet. Mother Teresa said, spread love everywhere you go. Let no one come to you without leaving happier. Our life comes a full circle, and I reiterate the formula. Y is equal to doer plus action. I know it works for the long term, even for short-term happiness. Because happiness is an all-pervasive and fundamental instinct of human life. It is a universal why. It is the desired outcome of all our actions. Giving back to the society satiates me. And I have found this to be the panacea for my state of action and being. Thank you.
Our next speakers will be Priya and Manish Maheshwari. Priya is an entrepreneur and is the founder of PropertyG.com, while Manish Maheshwari is the managing director of Twitter India. Their joint talk will be discussing the importance of taking the path less traveled.
Live streams are on right now. They're going on stage. We need the lights right now.
Hi, I'm Priya.
Hi, I'm Manish.
Opposite attracts, and that is so true. I and Manish are totally opposite to each other. He likes to do scuba diving, and I like to jump from the sky. Few years back, recently, I have done skydiving. He's very social, and I'm a bit reserved. He likes maths, and I'm a bit creative. And the list goes on. But the one thing which has kept us together from the last 16 years is our openness to take the path less traveled. Manish, do you want to add? What does that mean, taking the path less traveled?
Yeah, so that means not restricting yourself to the societal norms, making your own choices, even if they are the tough ones and the hard ones, and sort of in that process, create a trail that other can also follow. People usually take the easy path because they find comfort in numbers, and also because they just want to do something which is tried and tested. However, those are less eventful. When you do something new and different, you have to figure things out. You have to overcome challenges. And that is when you realize so much about the life around you, the world that you live in, and also you shape the world in the way that you want it to be. Taking the path less traveled is what makes all the difference. Let me bring home this point by giving examples from our personal lives.
So I grew up in a small conservative family in a small city in a state in India called Rajasthan, where women were not given a lot of opportunities. We were two sisters, and still remember when we were growing up, traveling from one town to another, I was escorted by a male that would either be my cousin brother or my father. For every single thing, I have to depend on other person or take permission. Soon I started to resent and ask myself why. Many women in my community would have accepted as their fate and would have not taken any action. I, on the other hand, decided to take the path less traveled and fought to do my master's, fought to travel alone, fought to live in the hostels, and fought to take up a job. I was in fact the first woman in my family to do master's or to take up a job. Later on, I got an opportunity to do my master's from the University of Pennsylvania and then took up a job in New York and San Francisco. This was the path which no one in my family or even in my community has taken before.
I also grew up in a small town in Western India. Most people in my town were very happy with local trade or profession. Very early, I realized that I want to be different and I want to change things around me. So I started doing things which were unconventional. For example, participating in contests which were state level and also even national level. I also started doing things which were very outdoor and also unusual for people of that time to do, being a Boy Scout, running different kind of events. After my school, I came to Delhi to study at Sri Ram College of Commerce here. Even in my college days, I did things which were very different. For example, contesting college elections at a student body level and winning it, also becoming the editor of the college magazine. After my college, at 2004, I went on to do an MBA from Wharton Business School. There I did things such as being on the admissions committee, serving as a volunteer for the International Volunteer Program in East Timor, and helping reconstruct the newest democracy. Through these experiences, I learned two things. Number one, leadership. Basically, standing up and providing a new sense of direction to the team and to people around you. And also, the most important thing in leadership is also about accountability. How do you sort of, hold yourself accountable to high standards? When you make a mistake, do you have the courage to own up and sort of correct it? And the second thing I learned from this was it is really, really good to provide a voice to people. And the best way to empower people is to give them voice and a sense of direction.
So here I was in the city of San Francisco, having a comfortable life and a structured life, and also getting a good pay. But I felt I was missing something, and that led to follow my passion of moving back to India to solve the pain point of consumers in one of the largest economies of the world. When I moved back, I was exhausted by how many Indians were putting their entire life savings in order to select the property in the hands of a person who was ready to cheat them. I started to ask why they are doing so and how can I help them. This led to the birth of my first startup, Propergy.com. This was again the path less traveled, as no one in my family was an entrepreneur, and a lot of questions were raised. I was like, let me try it and see what happens. So Propergy.com is a pro-buyer research analytics platform which helps consumer make informed decisions by providing unbiased information. It rates different projects by running an algorithm on data, and each user is assigned a unique ID so that they can review those projects. And each project has information such as price point analysis, appreciation analysis, risk analysis, locality analysis, and so on. When I started my startup, in those days, there were not many women in the real estate sector. It was intimidating in the beginning for me to be in those client meetings where I used to be the only woman, whether it was a client meeting or a pitch meeting. This again was a path less traveled, but I think it was my desire to solve the pain point of a consumer led me going.
After my MBA from Wharton, I moved to New York and worked for McKinsey for a couple of years. I found the role to be quite straitjacketed, and I then moved on to Bay Area, because at that point in time, technology was completely disrupting the world. I was amazed by how information was being created and accessed at scale at almost zero cost. It was also a time where a lot of development was happening in India. Sitting in Silicon Valley, where information was so easily available and accessed, I started wondering what the world would be like if even in my country and even in my town in India, people could access information and can be empowered through that. And that was a time when India was undergoing mobile revolution. Almost everyone was buying those very basic Nokia feature phone for $20. And those feature phones could do only two things: voice call and an SMS. I, along with my friend and mentor, we started brainstorming around how could we use that mobile technology to bring information in the hands of people, even people who are in the remotest part of the world and simply have access to only a mobile device, which is a feature phone. This led to creation of a mobile text-based platform called TextWeb, which was basically a platform through which anyone could access information by sending a shortcode to a central number and get information back on their phone as an SMS in any language of the world. And by just doing that small innovation, people anywhere in the world, including my people back in my town in India, could access information which was so far available only to people who had internet access. This was a game changer for a country like India. TextWeb went on to become one of the largest mobile platform for citizen journalism, where not only people could access information and stories, they could also contribute back stories to that platform in their native language. TextWeb went on to win several innovation awards, including the M Billionth Award, as well as the NASSCOM Award, Innovation Award, runner-up. At the same time, India Today recognized me as one of the top 10 innovators in the country. It was extremely satisfying for me, not because it won the awards, because now I was able to change the lives of people that I grew up with by making information available to them on a device that they already had. This was a game-changing innovation. After that, I moved on to be the CEO of a media company, and from there on, today I am the managing director for Twitter in India. The same set of people who had a feature phone in those days are now having a smartphone which can not only do voice and text, it can also do pictures and videos, and all of them are on Twitter. And I find that I have a very satisfying and a very responsible role in the sense that I am now enabling everyone to connect with information globally, participate in conversation, and we serve the public conversation by ensuring that it is neutral, objective, and that is the place where I am in today, and I feel extremely satisfied and gratified by the fact that the decisions I took in the early in my life went on and sort of helped me get to the point where I am today.
So journey of being an entrepreneur let me see the entire life cycle of a startup in a short period of span. So typically in a life cycle of startup, there's an ideation when a founder comes up with an idea, and then when that idea is validated by the customer is willing to use your product or services, and the customer is willing to pay for such product or services. That's called validation. Then if your product or a company or a startup is in one city and you want to scale to n number of cities, or if you're in a one country and you want to scale to globally, that's called scaling. And then later on comes the exit, when your company gets acquired by another player, or when your company goes for an IPO. In my case, my company, Propergy.com, got acquired by magicbricks.com, which is one of the largest player and which is a part of Times Internet, within 3 years of starting up. When I started as an entrepreneur, I did not know anything about being an entrepreneur. I did not know the ABC of how will I do it. But my passion to solve the pain point of consumers led me going. Every day was coming up with a new set of challenges, and every day I have to step out of my comfort zone and with an attitude of problem solving. Few of the examples I can remember, we were 4-member team in our startup, and it was 6 months, and one of the crucial team member, he was in charge of IT. He wrote a long email at 2 a.m. in the night, and next day he quit our company and went out of the company. We were dealing in the data, real estate research analytics. So making sure our data is accurate and we are able to gain the confidence of the customer was very important to us. I started with 50 registered users in first month, and at the end of the 3 years, I had 25,000 registered users, and with an exit with one of the largest player in India. And the reason they acquired us is they really like how we were using technology to solve the pain point of users and how we were giving the content to the users using technology. This journey of entrepreneurship has evolved me as a person. I have become more creative problem solver. Now, for every problem, I look as an opportunity, and I look as an attitude of how can I solve it. One lesson I would like you to take from here: being entrepreneur is a very risk-taking and uncertain journey. It's very true and very real. But the most important thing you get by being an entrepreneur is the learning. It helps you build an attitude of, I can do it. With that attitude, whatever path you take, however less traveled it is, you will be able to solve anything in life. And even for instance, if you're not able to solve anything, you will always tell yourself, I did not give up and I tried for it.
So we all took path less traveled, and when we look back and reflect on it, I'm sure we feel like there were so many challenges that we faced and we could have taken sort of a different way of doing things. But let me tell you, we feel immensely proud of what we chose to do, even though it was difficult and tough. And not only that, we had so much fun doing it, because while doing it, we have put our heart and soul into it. So here's a piece of advice for everyone. Please do not hesitate, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to access billions of people through technology, or you want to give voice to billions of people and show them a direction. Please go ahead and do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Myra, is a teenager and is self-schooling herself. She is completing an internship at a data science company called Atlan, which powers teams across the world. Her talk is about the automation of the securing our futures and our careers.
Have you ever tried to imagine what your life might look like 20 years in the future? I have. And today, I'm going to tell you a story about my investigation into how the world of work and jobs is likely to change over the next 20 years. I'll also share some strategies I've learned that young people can use to adapt to that change. But first, I'd like to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Myra, a teenager. I spend most of my time doing homework. I help out with household chores. I never argue with my sister, never close the door to my room, follow my parents' instructions to the T. You know, all the things you do too. Just kidding. Let me say this again. I'm Myra, a teenager, and this is how I spend my time for real. Well, now that you know how I spend my day, let me talk to you about my dreams. You see, my dream job is to be a lawyer. Several months ago, as I started researching on how to become one, the ever-helpful Google let me know that most legal processes will be automated. So there went my dream. All right, fine. I can't be a lawyer. What other jobs are there for me? Doctor? No. I heard about these machines that can detect breast cancer more accurately, quickly, and cheaply than current practices. Chef? No. Robotic kitchens that cook with both the skill and flair of a master chef are coming in the near future. Can't compete with that. What about being an Uber driver? Oh, but driverless cars are already a reality. Writer? Once again, no. The Washington Post actually has a bot that wrote updates on the Rio Olympics back in 2016. Wow, my options are getting limited. Now, there is this one job I guess I could take. I have to admit, I never really thought I would be doing this, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. This mysterious job that I'm talking about is, ta-da, pizza delivery. The only problem is, there's already drones delivering pizza. So after my first attempt at researching career options, where does all this automation leave me? Basically, unemployed and living in my parents' basement. Now, this isn't how I imagined my grown-up years. I expected to be able to have a job that supports a lifestyle, gives me independence and control, and in fact, not just keeps me out of my parents' basement, but also their house. So I spoke to some of my friends. Perhaps they would have a better handle on this. Sadly, I didn't receive a single answer that provided clarity as to how young people today can start preparing for the jobs of tomorrow. All of us were swimming in the same river, just learning to swim faster and get ahead. Unfortunately, we didn't know where this river was leading to. I decided to investigate this further. I wasn't going to give up easy. One of the first things I realized was that I needed to stop being a fish in the river. Instead, be a bird, flying high in the sky with a wider view of what the world ahead looks like, as well as where the river could take me. Now, what's the best way to learn to fly? Obviously, it's by taking some flight lessons. So I decided to self-school and apply for an internship to get a feel of the real world of work. And the first email I wrote to a company received a response within 24 hours with an exciting offer of a paid internship. Are you kidding me? That totally didn't happen. But just for a moment there, I wanted to see what it would feel like to have so many people be in awe of me. Anyway, what did happen was that about a dozen companies turned me down, saying I was too young and I didn't have the skills required for the job. But there was a silver lining, as one company offered me a position to create content around increasing teenagers' awareness of data science. Data science? That sounded scary. But my curiosity rose as I researched the topic. Terms like artificial intelligence and machine learning did throw me a bit in the beginning, but I soon realized this topic was going to the heart of my issue. Off the bat, I came across some statistics that gave me goosebumps. So far, I was thinking the most significant threats to my future were climate change, air pollution, and politically divisive heads of states around the world. But as I'd already begun to discover, when looking into careers in law and medicine, there is another threat looming. The threat of automation changing the nature of our jobs, careers, and lives on a truly massive scale in the next few years. I was thinking, if we do not know what jobs will look like by the time we enter the workforce, what skills will be required for us to get these jobs? And how do we prepare ourselves if we do not know what these skills will be? When the time comes for me to apply for a full-time job, will companies say the same thing I heard when applying for internships? That I don't have the skills required for the job? So over the last few months, I've been trying to find the answers to these questions. I've had the privilege of speaking to some super busy people who make important decisions at the highest level of companies, also known as CEOs. I asked them their mantra for automation-proofing our careers, and the most resounding advice I received was simply this: you can't direct the wind, but you can adjust your sails. The business leaders I spoke to refer to this as AQ, the adaptability quotient. And what it means is that you're always pushing yourself to learn something new. Just when you've mastered one skill, something new intrigues or challenges you. Similar to how video games are always throwing challenges at you and keeping you on your toes. You have to be able to figure out what to do if you're just dropped into a situation. So, parents, bring on the Fortnite addictions because it's actually helping teenagers prepare for the future world of work. Just kidding. On a more serious note, scientists agree that AQ is not fixed. It can be built. So, let's look at how we can develop this AQ. The first way to do this is by not putting all our eggs in the same basket. Develop many talents and turn some of those into your jobs, providing the variety and challenge that we teenagers thrive on. This is different than the traditional mindset of entering one field and working there for the long term. We are seeing the emergence of this gig mindset, which is working on one job for a short time and then moving on to another one. I recently attended a TED Talk by someone who has turned many of her passions into money-making ideas. She's a passionate runner, an active health and wellness blogger, a teacher, as well as a motivational speaker, and she's taken an entrepreneurial approach into building these passions into profitable ventures. She has what she calls a passion resume. In the future, it may become increasingly beneficial for us to have 4 to 5 gigs at one time that involve simultaneously working for a number of companies or for ourselves rather than for one organization. The second nugget to building our AQ is what I'm calling the early bird always gets the worm. Even when you're still in school, start gaining experience of the real world of work by doing some part-time, full-time, paid, unpaid internships. Explore. These experiences provide a great confidence boost and a sense of independence. Let's take my example. By exposing myself to an internship experience early on, I've built some pretty awesome connections with adults in the professional world. Without the internship, I wouldn't be here today because I wouldn't know anything about the possibility of automation-proofing our careers. The third way to building our AQ is instead of eating fish, we need to know how to fish. While it is important to learn what is being taught to you in school, it's also necessary to balance this learning by taking initiative of your own learning. According to responses on a survey I conducted for my internship amongst 50 data scientists to see how they trained for this new and fast-changing field, almost 80% of the respondents said that they had self-studied to gain knowledge about data science. The fourth strategy that I'm proposing is just like how the rain wets the leopard spots but doesn't wash them off. While machines automate certain processes, there is one component, the spots on our coats, that will be hard for them to automate. This component is the human element. Yep, that's right. Unlike machines, humans have an advantage when it comes to being creative, building complex relationships, and handling uncertainty. While machines use data to learn and improve, humans use their lives, experiences, and emotions to learn, improve, and most importantly, to connect with others. An example is a village in South America that was recently built entirely by 3D printer, eliminating the need for any human builders. Yes, at one level, we lost human jobs. Jobs that were repetitive, routine, and predictable, like laying bricks, screwing in windows or doors, and painting walls. However, this came with a tremendous increase in need of designers who were able to innovatively design the houses, keeping in mind the unique culture, climate, and needs of the local farming-based community, including a kitchen garden. Now, you may not believe me about the power of building your AQ. That's okay, I probably wouldn't believe some random teenager either. But you might believe a famous scientist, Charles Darwin, famous for publishing his theory of evolution almost 160 years ago. He said, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. I believe it's important not to view automation and technology as competition or enemies to fight against. Instead, as partners and tools we can use in order to make our lives more meaningful. By increasing our AQ, we can drive technology and not be driven by it. So, having taken this journey, landing an internship, interviewing CEOs, and discovering ways to cultivate one's adaptability quotient, how can I apply all of this back to my original question of what job I'll have when I'm older? Well, I've already started diversifying my skills. I've been learning piano for the last 5 years, so maybe I could teach or compose music? Or I'm a passionate martial artist, so maybe teaching my taekwondo could be my thing. What about being a professional illustrator? Or a photographer? And I still kind of want to be a lawyer. Actually, wait, why do I have to choose? I can be a lawyer by day. In between my appearances in the courtroom, I'll be teaching piano over Zoom, or better yet, through my hologram. In the evenings, as my personal robot will be cranking out the next day's arguments based on years of past data, I'll be teaching taekwondo. And by night, I'll be a professional illustrator. On the weekends, I do some photography gigs if I feel like it. The world will be a very different place in 5, 10, and 20 years in the future. So I'll continue to refine my career goals over time, to explore and learn and to build my uniquely human skills. I've learned that these strategies, the basket of eggs, the bird with the worm, going to fish, and the leopard spots, will help me create career opportunities for myself despite the rising trend of automation. Thank you.
Now we have a lot of good talks, huh? So now we have Vikram coming. I met him last year on a school trip, and really I was awed by all he's doing for India, the underprivileged students, and the blind students. So I felt we should give him the stage to voice his ideas and truly inspire people the way he inspired me. So, Vikram.
Hello, hi. My name is Vikram Londe, and I'm currently the co-founder of NASCIs, an education organization that manages the only public access observatory and research center in India. I built this center from a ground up on a beautiful plateau in Panchgani, a region near Pune. In last 3 years, I have conducted many astronomy space science workshops for almost 10,000 students from 17 different nationalities. And I'm about to embark on a beautiful journey to every state in India to teach astronomy and space science to the hundreds of children. You know, as an astrophysicist, I get lots and lots and lots of curious questions. Curious questions like, have you ever seen aliens? Did you happen to make a contact with them? Or did you meet them? And why should we go to Mars? And the most one I get is, was Apollo 11 landing a real one? But, one question recently really floored me. A young girl in one of my workshops asked me if she could ever go and visit the moon. Because as she put it, I want to be an explorer. I wasn't surprised by her question because she lives in an impoverished village. And I wasn't surprised because she's a girl. You know, I was surprised by her question because she's blind. You see, our workshops were specifically developed to teach astronomy, space science principles to the kids who cannot see. You might feel skeptical about that, and that's okay. I have met many skeptical people along my life to this point. So you will get over it, or you can meet me outside. Now, let me tell you how I got here. Share my passion with you and show you what and why I do is supremely important. According to the latest UN reports, you're not going to believe, India is home to over 30% of 385 million children living in an extreme poverty. And then there are 9 million blind people. So, how should we feel when we come across a blind or a disabled child? Should we sympathize? Our inboxes and Facebook feeds are filled with the scale of challenges, but not often with the necessary tools to meet them. One way is that we can give them money, they need it. We can give them humanitarian goods and services, they need that too. But in my experience, that is not really what all they want. What they want is a sense of belonging. So, the children I work with want you to be seen beyond their poverty, beyond their disability, and beyond their social status. Because I believe a curious mind and courageous spirit can reside inside any body. And that is the core belief in my work. I look at my life as a product of fortunate, miraculous circumstances. And I wonder every day how I was lucky enough to be here, to be standing in front of you. I have worked at one of the largest telescopes in the world at Monarchy Observatories. Became the youngest recipient of multiple research grants. Traveled to 5 different countries for my research work. Published my research work in many national and international conferences. And co-founded India's first public access observatory and space science center. But I have also lived in a village where my only toys were the mud and stick. I left home at the age of 8 and had to make my way working to live. Dreaming about the stars and wishing for some miracle to save me. I have always felt an outsider in every school that I have ever attended and every job that I ever held. Be it for my poverty, my age, my color. I have learned that the best way to achieve the inclusivity is just to include that person. We just have to go ahead and forget whatever assumptions we have and forget the judgments we have. Because as soon as we see the person, we just go in that mindset. So what we have to do, we have to simply seek to communicate with an open mind and heart. So, as you can tell, I have achieved wonderful things in my life. But my greatest achievement to the date comes in my workshops. When I see the excitement and curiosity blossom in my students, and when I see that they see themselves as I do, there are hundreds of solutions out there to teach astronomy, space science for the visually impaired students. I and my colleague at NASCAIS, we spent a full year reinventing all the solutions. We were looking at other teaching models that cost 10,000 rupees. Ours cost 9,000. Nope. 5,000. Nope. 1,000. No. Only 10 rupees per student. And they work better. And they are simple, and the most important thing is they are fully accessible to all the learners. This is one way that we tend to achieve the inclusivity. So, whenever I speak about all this, I got often a question that, when should we start making people inclusive? When we should start about it? So what I say is, there is not a right time. We can start it any time. How? Now let's be inclusive right now. Turn to the person, I'd like to request you, turn to the person that you do not know and say, hey, you're awesome, you belong here. Please go ahead. That's, that's fabulous. I would like to encourage you to take this energy, this impulse, when you leave. Because, inclusivity is a mindset, a belief we share when we do our work and live our lives. So, as an astrophysicist, a nerd, one of my favorite personal heroes, Carl Sagan, wrote this. Look at that dot. That's here and that's home. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and sufferings, every hero and coward, every creator and every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, saint and sinner in history of our species, it lives there. On a mote of dust suspended in the sunbeam. The earth is very small stage in this vast cosmic arena. And the cosmos connects us all because we are all made from the same cosmic dust. My grandfather taught me this when I was a young child, living in that small village. He was my biggest pillar of support. Every day he would show me the stars and constellations, telling me the stories fusing Indian mythology and astronomy. He was my first miracle. He gave me the sense of belonging that we all crave. I came back to India to put my belief into action, to carry on to the work my grandfather and teachers started. That is to be miracle to others. NASCAIS and everything it stands for is one of my personal favorite achievements. Now, interestingly, for the next project, we call it as a Ride the Rocket. My group will travel to teach for 40 days, covering 10,000 kilometers and reach 20,000 students all across India. And we are all gearing up for what will be the greatest adventure of our lives. As I said, we can give them money or we can give them humanitarian goods. But one thing I know, you can give a person a fish, they will survive a day. You teach them to fish, they will endure it for a life. We need to give and teach this sense of belonging. We are holding all these camps to give that the same sense of belonging through astronomy and space science. A purpose to live, an avenue to move forward in life. Now, let me just expound upon this idea. Now, I would like to request you to close your eyes for a minute. I'm going to tell you when to open. Just close it for a minute. Now, close and imagine this. An older woman lying in her bed, her face scarred from her fights with her husband. Her son sitting and letting a torrent of tears run down his face, sitting by her bedside. Then in the next scene, the boy is forced to flee his home, forced to leave his beloved mother. And why? So he can come back and free her from those sufferings. With nothing but only 2 gold earrings on him, he treks to the vast land known as India in search of a better livelihood. And what does he get? He gets carrying water for 5 kilometers every day at 5 a.m. sharp to his teacher's place. becoming their servant to pay through his education. And injustice halts his aspiration to be successful and get a livelihood in order to just save his mother. That kid is me. This story is mine. And I want to equip this sense of belonging because I want to allow all these kids I work with to achieve what they want. You can open your eyes now. Now, what I would like to say is that we have all a little time on this mote of dust suspended in this cosmos. And my hope is that we can reach out to as many as possible to give each person a sense of belonging and change the world for better in doing so. So let's be miracle to each other and let's support and celebrate the stars amongst us. Thank you very much.
We just want to let you know that we're going to have a 20-minute break now, and the cookies in your gift bags have nuts in them. So if you're allergic, don't have them.
And during our break, we'll have 2 or 3 amazing speakers, outside speakers, coming and sharing their stories and experiences, so you can interact with them too. Thank you. Oh, and just another round of applause for all the amazing speakers. Because 12 minutes, right? It was 12 minutes 40. 12 minutes 40.